Hey guys, welcome to PB Garage. I'm Sean. I'm here with Barry and Blake, and we're about to start working on this 2.7 for Blake. How do you get into this thing though? It's got a lot of parts on it. Let's try and clean this up.
Is it direct injection, Blake?
Yeah.
Is that what you're running?
I just need to put the air filter back together is all I'm really needed to do here.
So what are we doing?
We're going to be working on the Porsche, actually.
Oh. Okay, so we've got this beautiful twin turbo V8 Porsche.
Let me stop you there, Sean. It's just a V6.
Oh. Turbo?
Nope, naturally aspirated.
Oh, okay.
It puts out about 218 horsepower.
So what you're saying is we've got a nice B7 Avant with a single turbo kit 2.7 swapped that we could be working on.
Yeah.
And instead we're working on what?
A naturally aspirated V6.
Okay.
In SUV.
Okay.
Interesting turn of events.
Here we are.
You know, bit disappointed.
But I mean, all we have to do is really take the head off, probably put 2 new exhaust valves in it, and then button it all back up together.
So if we back up a little bit, tell us the story. How did you end up with this car, first of all?
So what I wanted was a reliable car or truck to replace the 6-speed.
Which is your B6 1.8T.
Correct.
Only thing wrong with it really is the lightweight flywheel, right?
Yeah, exactly,
okay.
yes. Which is nothing wrong with it, it's just that it's a lightweight flywheel.
Okay.
So I wanted
So
to...
instead you went and bought yourself a reliable Porsche VR6 that was running perfectly.
Yep.
And
here we are with a cylinder head issue with the exhaust valves.
so take us through a bit of the issue that happened, maybe.
All right, so to back it up, when I picked it up, it was running perfectly fine, and it after a couple days, probably the second day, started a misfiring issue, and I thought it was going to be the a PCV valve in the valve cover, so I had to do a pile of removals to get to it, and decided to replace it. So I replaced all that, did some spark plugs, and found a spark plug that had a broken tip to it, and I didn't think much of it at the time. Put it all back together. When I started back up, it still had a misfire on cylinder 6, and when I did a compression test, it had 0 compression. And when we further diagnosed it with a leak down test, it revealed that the exhaust valve, or one of the exhaust valves, was leaking out of cylinder 6. So here we are. Instead of working on a 2.7, we're going to be removing the head on this VR6 to get to the bottom of its misfire / no compression.
So aside from the engine issues, are there anything else? Anything else with the car that it needs, or is it ready to go after that?
It's going to be ready to go. It was driving perfectly fine.
It's gonna be ready
to go.
Driving perfectly fine.
All right, well, why do you say we get into this and start pulling that head off? I want to see what the issue is.
Paige, you're going to get the port number 1 intake, port number 2, or port number 1 exhaust. Yep.
Don't we lift from the fuel rail?
Yeah. The fuel rail's good, yeah.
I can get a good meaty grip on this.
Oh, jeez. Thought we were lifting. Yep. There, you lifting?
Yeah.
Cage straight up. Perfect.
Can we put it straight down, or does it have to?
There's just that thing there that you got to worry about.
I got the
You
back
guys
side.
got it there?
You got a Page?
Okay.
Hold
Sticking
on.
out?
Yeah, stand it up. Just stand it up towards Paige.
Lift this up here.
Good idea.
Is that a magnet?
What?
Hang on.
That is a magnet. It's not a very strong one.
Strong enough to give Blake a few headaches.
It,
It's stuck to the spark plug.
That's the one that we were hunting
fuel
for
injector.
before. What's it?
Oh my God! Look at this valve.
Oh, that's you want to see. Paige, rotate the whole cylinder head towards Sean.
No. Oh shit, that's exactly what my T100 looked like.
Really?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what causes that then?
No idea, it got me. Just a little, maybe a nick, and then it makes a hot spot. I have no idea.
Expands from there, right?
Yeah.
So upon initial assessment, we have a big, massive hole in this valve, and down here we found a magnet stuck to the fuel injector. What was the appeal to buy an automatic SUV? Like,
It's black.
So I've seen that on a motor before. I don't really know what causes that. So if you guys know out there on the internets, let us know in the comments. We want to know what causes that to start to happen.
check out this corrosion on the surface of it too. So just slam it back together, that's it.
That's it. Put it back together. I'm going to replace a couple coolant flanges. Put it back together and go. And hopefully enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be ready to go. It was driving perfectly fine.
So we're fast forward a couple of weeks here. We've got the cylinder head for the VR6 ready to go back on. A couple of valves, the exhaust valves in that number 6 hole have been replaced.
Yep.
So take us through a few of the things that you've done to facilitate this whole process.
Well,
So let's just recap real quick from the start. First of all, you had a misfire.
Yes, started as misfire. What I diagnosed it as was a low pressure fuel pump and or the PVC membrane in the valve cover. So I decided to replace the 2 low pressure fuel pumps and replace the PVC membrane that's in the valve cover, and then I decided to do the spark plugs at the same time as well, and that's when I noticed one of the spark plugs was actually broken. Didn't think much of it, slammed it all back together, and it still had a hard misfire on cylinder number 6. At that point, I did a compression test and it read 0. And then I did a leak down test and found out that one of the exhaust valves was leaking, and here we are.
And that's when the first part of the video that you guys would have seen, we pulled the cylinder head off. We found that valve that was bad.
Yep.
So you sent that head out to be rebuilt.
Yeah, well, I mean, all they did is clean it, and they just popped in 2 new valves for me. Only one valve was bad, but I decided to put 2 in just because they were there, and whatever, the cylinder had that lean condition. So we diagnosed it to be one of the injectors had actually died or wasn't.
This was the rebuilder had that idea.
I took my
Or-
injectors to another guy.
Okay.
And the guy at the injector place there, he said that, well, he showed me that it wasn't even putting out any fuel kind of thing. So we determined that that cylinder had a lean condition, probably burnt the exhaust valve, and then chipped or burnt the spark plug as well. And here we are.
So that's what we've done for the engine. Now, what other small, insignificant maintenance items have you tackled while you had the head off the motor here?
So like any project, as you're getting into something like this, you think, oh, well, while you're in there, you might as well do, a motor mount or an engine cradle or
Wait,
other...
engine cradle? How did that come about?
So the motor mounts, they're relatively accessible now that the head is off. Trying to take one of the motor mounts out, I snapped both the bolts in the engine cradle. It's just an aluminum engine cradle with a steel bolt going into it, and they both snap. So trying to drill that out and retap it wasn't going to be an achievable feat. So the whole engine cradle had to come out, which meant dropping the entire subframe and taking the sway bar out and wrestling this gigantic subframe or engine cradle out from under the motor.
So the original issue was one bad injector.
Yes.
So one fuel injector was bad, and that resulted in a burnt exhaust valve or a chewed up exhaust valve and a busted spark plug, and then a engine cradle replacement, new motor mounts, rebuilt head, fuel pumps.
And also while you're in there, bunch of coolant piping, sensors, water pumps, because it's all right there, so you might as well. And here we are, just maybe a couple 6 hours into it, and we're ready to put the head back on.
So we've got a really sad piston on one side, We've got a really happy piston on this side, nice and clean. So we're about to reinstall the head.
Yeah, so the head or the block surface has been just prepped, and we're just gonna put a gasket on and put the head on.
All right.
Starter in there too.
Oh yeah, it's got a new starter too, because you might as well. It's all right there.
Sweet. Let's do it up. Just to be clear, we have no idea if this is required or necessary or anything, but we're applying a little bit of RTV.
If anything we've learned, it's two surfaces coming together that usually you put sealant on it. Mint.
Ah, there we go.
That's it?
Yep.
Are these OG?
Oh, yeah.
Look at that.
Nobody makes
Factory parts.
Nobody makes aftermarket. Now, where do the long ones go? I think in the middle? Short ones on the outer edge? Okay. Barry did, yeah.
Was it open?
Do you guys mark your
Yeah,
180s? Yeah.
yeah. I always put paint marks on.
Good idea.
Because otherwise I get like,
Disorientated.
well, because sometimes, you know, you go
Yeah,
to
I
do
know.
it and then your bar like doesn't quite and you're like, oh. Okay, so we're gonna leave you here. Bunch more stuff to do, but the head's on, and I'm sure this thing's gonna purr like a kitten. First time you see this thing back after all of this work, with the new engine cradle and everything, we're probably gonna be racing it against a smart car, and we're gonna see which one's faster.
Money's on the smart car.
Yeah.
Like, is your plan after this, once you get it running, to take it to the parking lot and do some more donuts and like destroy the wheels and suspension, or are you gonna leave it alone?